It was one of those days when everything felt perfectly in harmony. The sun was at its highest point in the sky. It cast shadows that were dappled through the trees. The breeze was warm, the kind that made you want to just slip into the woods and lose yourself for a time. The woodland that was close to our house was always one of my favorite places to go. It was a location where I could be alone with my thoughts and enjoy the peace and tranquility that it provided. On that particular day, I had ventured further into the forest than I normally would have, and the sound of my feet crunching lightly on the undergrowth filled the air with the aroma of pine needles. It wasn't unusual for me to head out without telling anyone, and I hadn't expected anyone to follow. As I traveled further, the sounds of the house and the routine daily activities that I had left behind gradually disappeared, and were gradually replaced by the sound of leaves rustling and the odd chirp of birds. I discovered a location that appeared to be ideal. It was secluded and had a fallen log for me to sit on. The silence was only broken by the soft hum of nature, which was the only thing that could be heard. I sat there, taking pleasure in the moment, totally oblivious to the fact that my tranquil getaway would soon be transformed into something that was significantly more unexpected. When I started to hear a sound, I had been immersed in my thoughts for what seemed like hours at that point. At first, it was barely audible, almost like an animal moving through the underbrush, but as time went on, it became more audible. My heart was beating really quickly, and I was a little bit curious about what might be out there. In spite of the fact that I was not afraid of the woods, it was unusual for anyone else to be out here at this hour of the day. I quickly became aware that the sound was not just any random noise, rather, it was footfall, and they were moving closer. This realization came to me in a short amount of time. My stepmother suddenly materialized from behind a clump of trees. She was surprised to see me. On the contrary, I was utterly taken aback. She never went into the woods, much less followed me out here. She never even followed me. Instantaneously, I stood up, my thoughts overflowing with inquiries. Where did she come from? In what way did she locate me? The first thing that she did was remain silent. Because her eyes were fixed on mine, I had the impression that the entire world had come to a halt for a brief instant. Something was different about the way she looked at me, and it was something that she noticed. It appeared as though her normally calm demeanor had slipped, and in its place was an expression that I was unable to fully comprehend. Somewhat curious, and somewhat intriguing. The last thing she said was, "Hey," and her voice was softer than normal. "It comes as a surprise to me that you are here." Trying to figure out how to react, I took a deep breath. In an effort to maintain a casual tone, I stated that I simply required some space, despite the fact that I was anything